Welcome to Roger That, a podcast presented by HVAF of Indiana. I'm your host, Lauren Carpenter, and join me as we discuss how HVAF is ending veteran homelessness and how you can join us in our mission. We'll be having conversations with community partners, staff members, and even some of the veterans we serve. We hope sharing more of our story with supporters like you can shine a light and give a voice to this vulnerable population, because no hero should ever be homeless. Before we get started with today's episode, here is how your support helped Hoosier Heroes last month. In July, 108 veterans received temporary housing, and 199 veterans received rent and utility assistance to prevent them from becoming homeless. 7 veterans were enrolled in our employment services. These services include resume help, interview training, and job referrals. And 9 veterans received full-time employment. 258 veterans visited our pantry, where veterans received essential food, clothing, and hygiene items. So far in 2024, we have served 1,048 veterans, and we know we couldn't serve this many Hoosier Heroes without your support. So thank you for donating, volunteering, following us on social media, and being a part of the Roger That community. If you'd like to know more about how to serve our Hoosier Heroes, head on over to our website at hvaf.org. Now let's get started with today's episode. If you've been to the grocery store lately, you've likely experienced a little sticker shock as you are shopping for your items, or maybe you've stressed about affording rent due to the cost of living going up, or you've decided to hold off on buying a home due to the record highs for interest rates. We've all experienced the struggles of inflation these last few years, and it's affected us all in different ways. For our veterans, it's been hard for them to keep up with rent, bills, and ensuring that there will be food on the table. One veteran who has experienced this is Army veteran Marvin. He has come to HVAF's food pantry once a week for the last 4 years.
In 2020, I came to HVAF for help, and they helped me out with getting food. My health started failing me, and I couldn't no longer work. So just like I do now, I don't work. So what I do to supplement my income, I comes to HVAF because I want to live like 2 blocks from here.
Marvin, who served in the United States Army from 1976 to 1979, has also been able to receive help with housing, access to VA healthcare, and even getting dog food for his 2 Chihuahuas.
It's very important to me because it helps me feed myself, because I'm just one individual and I don't have that much to really, care about eating and stuff like that. And it helps me out, a whole lot, tremendously.
Marvin isn't the only veteran here in Indy who relies on HVAF's pantry, which provides clothing and hygiene on top of food, and is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays for any veteran. We've seen an increase of visits to our pantry since the pandemic. We typically see about 200 to 258 veterans per month. Before COVID-19, we were seeing about 100 veterans. And actually, last month in July, we saw 258 veterans.
A lot of them, when I do my surveys, that's one of the questions that I ask, why would you choose to come to this pantry? A lot of them say that it's because the economy has risen in pricing. So their housing has written up, their mortgage, their insurance, not a lot of VA, things are free. They might go to the VA for free medical, but if they have to stay, they have a bill. So most of them, try to have to spend money on paying down that bill so that it doesn't affect their credit or leave their loved ones with a balance due or a bill due. So a lot of them tell me it's just because food pricing has gone up and cost of living has gone up as well.
That's Katie, who is HVAF's Community Center Specialist. In addition to working at HVAF's front desk and community center, she also ensures the pantry runs smoothly each week. In 2023, we had a total of 3,522 visits to the pantry and were able to distribute 82,408 pounds of food and clothing to veterans in need. In June, Gleaners Food Bank of Indiana sent out a report from Feeding America called Map the Meal Gap. Feeding America releases a new report each year that provides numbers on food insecurity and food costs for every county nationwide. The most recent Map the Meal Gap shows food insecurity rates from 2022, and they were consistent with what we and Gleaners see on a daily basis. Food insecurity is on the rise for Hoosiers all over the state. The report showed that in 2022, more than 950,000 Hoosiers were food insecure, which is a huge increase compared to 730,000 people in 2021. And at 13.9%, unfortunately, Indiana's food insecurity rate outpaces the rest of the country. Gleaners CEO Fred Glass says that sadly, he wasn't surprised at all to read this report.
One of the really valuable things about it is it gives a county by county assessment of where food insecurity is across the U.S. So when we have 21 counties, it's super helpful for us to get a county by county snapshot. Unfortunately, what it documents is what we see in our pantry every day, that demand is going way, way up. I think this last year it went from 10.3% to like 13.5%. Dramatic increase. I think the largest increase in about 20 years. And really that's a result of pandemic era levels of support rolling off. So more and more people are in need. In Indiana, unfortunately, we're above the national average. And even that sort of, modest or not, but 10% to 13%. That's 250,000 people just in Indiana. So I think we can become numb by statistics, but there's real numbers behind those percent increases and stories behind those food. And I could tell you story after story, but we try to be mindful that these, as overwhelming as the statistics are, the real important part.
Fred shares some other key takeaways from Feeding America's report.
Not surprisingly, hunger is not an equal opportunity condition. So certain communities are more likely to be hit by hunger than others. Most importantly, for our visit today, veterans are more likely to be hungry. Very sadly, active military families are more likely to be hungry, which I think is a national disgrace to ask people to serve and then not provide them the fundamental needs. Communities of color, LGBTQ plus community, rural people are more likely to be hungry than the rest of us, and so I think we have to be mindful of that and how we try to identify and serve.
Since 1980, when they were first founded, Gleaners' mission is to be a leader in the fight against hunger. They do this by distributing food to hungry Hoosiers through a network of about 300 partner agencies in 21 counties, and that includes emergency food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. They provide food to the hungry through their drive-through pantry, mobile pantries, resource connections to SNAP, and other benefits, home delivery, and more. With 1 in 8 Hoosiers facing hunger in their 21 county service area, they were able to distribute 99,381,818 meals last year. And one of Gleaners' partners is us, HVAF. Our community center specialist, Katie, who you heard from earlier, is able to order food in bulk from Gleaners. She says monetary donations to the pantry can go a long way as far as then being able to order from Gleaners. As mentioned before, our pantry visit numbers have doubled in the last several years, and so Gleaners and buying bulk from them is one of the ways that we've been able to adjust to having more veterans visit our pantry.
We seek to buy more bulk items, being able to supply a veteran. If you go into Kroger's, let me give an example. If you go into Kroger's and you have $20, you could feed one family. But if you have $20 and you donate it to HVAF, I can go to Gleaners and I can feed 10 families with $20. So it's just being able to expand our product in the pantry. It kind of helps with being able to give the veterans kind of what they need. and what they want.
We basically are a wholesale provider of charitable food to pantries such as you guys here that serve the hungry in a 21 county area throughout central Indiana. We serve about 300 pantries. We also run one pantry, retail if you will, at our location near the airport. It serves about 15% of the total people we serve, so it sort of hits above its weight class in terms of impact. We provide, about 50 million pounds of food in this service area, which is awful lot, 125 employees, a gigantic warehouse. We're not your grandma's food pantry, with the green beans in and green beans out. It's a huge operation with, like I said, 125 employees. So that's kind of technically what we do.
All right, we're taking a quick break from this episode so I can let you know about our huge event that's coming up in just a few months. So mark your calendars. It's our 11th annual Operation Alpha. So join us Friday, November 8th at the Biltwell Event Center for the biggest, bestest Veterans Day party around and support vulnerable veterans and their families in our community. Sounds like a win-win, right? Operation Alpha is a casual event with Hotel Tango Spirits, Upland and Sun King beer, wine, custom cigars, great food, a military-inspired grog bowl ceremony. If you don't know what that is, then you have to go and experience it for yourself. And the ever-so-popular whiskey pull. Dress is casual and free parking is available on site. So we look forward to seeing you all there. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. You can find out more on our website at hvafofindiana.org/events. All right, let's get back to the episode. As data shows that veterans are one of the communities more likely to be food insecure, Fred says that's a problem that should be fixed.
Right. These are folks, and I'm preaching to the choir. They deserve it. They've earned it, and because they are who they are, sometimes they hide that under a bushel basket or don't share that. I was at a pantry, it was a rural pantry, and they at the front door, they would have a veterans recognition benefit, and the back door was a pantry, and basically they were encouraging people to come in as their status as veterans so they could serve them like they serve other people, in the pantry. So, I hope particularly our veterans recognize that this is something their country owes them, and not any kind of charity for them.
Katie says it means a lot to have Fred and Gleaner support in providing essential food items to our Hoosier Heroes in need.
It means a lot to be able to not necessarily depend, but rely on Gleaners and Second Helpings and, Midwest. These agencies provide a service to pantries at a lower cost than us being able to go, let's say, the Sam's Club or Walmart or Kroger. Those places, you can get some items, but you can't buy bulk items. You can't buy a case of peanut butter for $5. You would have to spend $7 on one jar of peanut butter. So it helps out a lot to be able to go to these agencies and get the things that we need to sustain in our pantries and keep it going.
Fred says if you are worried about where your next meal is going to come from, don't hesitate to reach out. They have a drive-thru available for those in need.
Well, first I'd say if you're in need, don't suffer quietly. There are resources available. You can go to gleaners.org, our website, and identify where a pantry is near you. We want to find people in need, and you don't have to be in abject poverty, literally starving. If you don't know where your food's coming from for this upcoming weekend for your family, let us help.
HVAF also welcomes all veterans who are food insecure to stop by our food pantry, which is open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You don't have to show your need, just your DD-214. For those listening who would like to help out, HVAF and Gleaners gladly accept financial donations and volunteers to run the pantries.
If you're fortunate enough to be food secure, frankly, financial support is critical to us, and we promise to be great stewards of those resources. Like I said, we can take $1 and turn it into nearly $10 worth of food for people in need. If you're interested, volunteer. We need volunteers. We can't operate without volunteers. It's easy for me to say, but I think our volunteers get a lot out of that themselves in terms of community and satisfaction of serving. So, so I think financial support, volunteering.
At the times when donations slow down, funds don't come in, so I have to lower my points, and not give a veteran their 20 points, but to try to stay open so that I can serve all the veterans. That's the saddest thing for me. A lot of people don't realize it, but donations don't come in all year. Like the beginning of the year and the end of the year, floodgates. Around Veterans Day, floodgates. Any other time between that, it's slim pickings. Like it's really sad. And, I keep putting the word out that, donations are needed all year long. Veterans are hungry every day. Yeah. They're in need of hygiene every day. So just to be able to put that out there for everyone to know that donations, Christmas time is a joy, I understand. New Year's, I understand. But we see veterans every single day, and they are in need every single day.
HVAF also welcomes donated items. Popular food items that our veterans like to shop for include canned meat, canned fruit and soups, pasta and pasta sauce, and peanut butter and jelly. You can find out more about Gleaners at gleaners.org and head to hvaf.org to find out more about our pantry hours and location, our needs list, and donate button.
Who we view ourselves as being is food insecurity is not about food. That may sound weird from a food banker, but there's plenty of food. The industry throws millions of pounds of it away all the time as a matter of business. Food insecurity is about poverty. People are hungry because they're poor. And if they're hungry, they're probably having trouble with their rent. They're probably having trouble with their transportation. I know I'm preaching to the choir with you and your listeners. But we understand that. So as fundamental as feeding people is, it's almost biblical. It's more than almost biblical. It is biblical. Maybe the most fundamental need people have. It's also a fungible charitable aid. And if we can supply that to people. But we had older couple that rode their bikes in the drive-thru. And they would come in and we'd fill like Target bags, full of as much food as possible and put it on their handlebars, and they kind of waddle off into the night, and we'd say a little prayer for them that they made it. And every week they'd come back by on their bikes. And then they started saying, hey, Joey Inskeep, who was our pantry assistant manager at the time, we're gonna come up someday in a truck and you're gonna be really proud of us. He's like, yeah. You hear a lot of stuff in line. So week after week, month after month, bikes, no truck, until one day, voila, they're in a truck. And they said, Joe, are you proud of us? He goes, what's going on? And they said, we literally took the money that we would have spent on groceries, put it in a jar until we could save up enough money to buy this truck. And now we bought the truck, and because I have transportation, I have a job, and we're not going to be coming around anymore. And they haven't been around for a year. If I was in the charitable food business, I might be irked by that because they had the money to buy food. They could have bought food.
Sure.
But I'm not in the charitable food business. I'm in the poverty alleviation business. So I'm thrilled that they use the availability of free food to literally build enough wealth to pull themselves out of line. That's the magic.
Helping nonprofits who serve those who are food insecure, such as HVAF and Gleaners, can help change people's lives. One of the lives your support has changed is veteran Marvin, who we introduced you to earlier in this episode.
Mr. Marvin Weaver. I have seen his growth, and he just comes by now just to say hey sometimes. But to see him and to know that he's okay means a lot to us at the front desk because he's gone through a lot in his time. And for us to be here, still for him, just if he needs a can of soup. For us to be here, to be able to provide that means a lot.
All right, that wraps up this episode of Roger That. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to Roger That on wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at HVAF of Indiana. And for even more stories on HVAF and the veterans that we serve, check out our blog on our website at hvaf.org. Thank you, and until no hero is homeless, we'll see you next time on Roger That, a podcast presented by HVAF of Indiana.